Luno, the fastest, easiest way to buy Bitcoin. If you're just getting into crypto, it's the perfect place to start. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Layah Heilpern show. It is powered by Icon Plus Capital, sponsored by BlockFi. You can get up to $250 when you sign up, some amazing interest rates. So I've left a link for you in the comments and in the description. And this episode in particular is actually sponsored by Compass Mining. So they're the company that makes Bitcoin mining accessible for everyone. You just buy your machine, pick a hosting facility, and let them do the work. So if you want, you can start mining Bitcoin and you can just head to compassmining.io. So if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to do these amazing podcasts. Okay, so today we have a really interesting guest. Joining me is the Canadian blogger, influencer, YouTuber, and podcaster. It is Mikhaila Peterson. Hey, how are you doing?
Not too bad. Thank you so much for having me on. It's good to finally meet you after following you on Twitter for a while.
Yeah, it's good to meet you too. I'm a big fan of your fathers, you, all the work that you guys do. And yeah, I've been really excited to have you on. So this is going to be good. I'm excited. So when I was going through all the different topics that we could talk about, there is so much. And I wanted to start off by talking more really just about your family, your background, because unfortunately, your family has sort of just come into the limelight. I feel like out of nowhere. Your dad went from, Canadian professor, lecturer to this suddenly political figure, and you guys just went into the limelight. So I just wanted to understand, how that's been and what your upbringing was like, having a father like Jordan Peterson. It sounds kind of weird to say to you, but go on. It'd be really interesting to hear.
Okay, well, it was pretty out of the blue for Dad, but at least for me and making a podcast, I kind of, I wouldn't say jumped on that exactly, but I took advantage of the opportunities that presented themselves. So I took over Dad's kind of social media. I didn't take it over. He ran his YouTube, but I was like, hey, you should be on Instagram, you should be on Facebook. People will know you and on other platforms. So I kind of helped him grow that. But it was pretty stressful. It's been pretty stressful the whole time. And there's so many good things that come of having an online following. But if it's super wrapped up in controversy, like it has been with Dad, it's been really stressful. And I think for somebody his age as well, it was harder for him. Like for me, you're just more resilient when you're younger, right? And I kind
Yeah.
of grew up with the internet, and even though social media was a little bit late, like I didn't have that as a kid, but it's still easy to wrap my head around. And the whole situation has been so absurd for my dad that it's been like much harder for him and stressful, worried about losing his job, worried about what would happen, like if you end up in huge newspapers or huge magazines, people calling you, an alt-right, horrible human being. It's like, what are people going to think of me? And that amount of stress has been very, very, very damaging to my family. Like, so I've been, just what I've grown for myself with the podcast and online following, that's been okay. I can handle that. But the controversy that my dad has experienced has been too much, I would say. It's been a lot. So, yeah.
We live in a world, firstly, I'm so sorry to hear, we live in a world where these words are just thrown around: alt-right, racist, white supremacist. And how then as a family are you able to deal with those accusations? Because I think it's concerning, because eventually these words will lose meaning and lose value.
Oh, for sure. I mean, particularly the word racist is thrown around in so many ways that don't actually mean racist, that, yeah, you do lose the word. And it's actually a really important word to have. So that's silly. But how, like, as a family, how are we dealing with it? That kind of thing. Well, I don't know. Like I said, I think probably because I grew up with the internet and kind of understood the, I don't know, just people online and trolls, and it was like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Like if someone prints something about you, it doesn't really matter. It does matter. And it does
Yes.
cause enough stress that people, like, it ruins people's lives, right? People can get taken down by the mob or canceled. They end up committing suicide. Like it can actually get really, really bad. And I think it's probably harder for older people who, well, I don't know. I can't even only blame it on age because obviously it was more impacting his direct character than it has been for me. But I think it has something to do with age and just the absurdity of the whole situation.
Yeah, I think, because we're this age, we're millennials, we're sort of, I know we haven't necessarily grown up with this level of social media, but certainly, like you said, more resilient. Um,
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
no, I can appreciate that, and I mean, I couldn't imagine my dad sort of receiving the same kind of the same the same how do I put it controversy. I couldn't imagine. It must be tough. But this new world, like I'd love to hear your opinion on where you think we're going. There are so many things that we're not allowed to say anymore, and things that we're not allowed to discuss. I mean, it'll be really interesting to talk about COVID and things like that, especially because just now the news has just come in. So this is really cool to talk to you about it. That in the UK they'll be implementing vaccine passports for clubs
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
bars. So yeah, in terms of what you can and can't say, where do you stand on that?
I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I've been pretty pessimistic about the whole thing. Like,
Yes.
I wasn't in Canada for, like, 4 months because I was, I was like, "I don't wanna live here. It's
Yeah.
scary. The downtown is empty. Everyone's walking around fearful." And I'm back now, but people are still fearful. Things are slowly opening up. I'm sure that they'll I'm not sure. I'm fairly certain that they're going to implement some sort of vaccine passport. And I don't know how things are going to go. I mean, it's interesting because we have this social media and we're able to have jobs online and everything kind of went
Mm.
remote that I think people will end up moving to places that they wouldn't have normally moved to. Like, I was in Belgrade for a while. That was amazing. Croatia is pretty nice. I don't know what COVID laws are going to be like in those places. And they might be just as strict. I'm not sure. But at least they don't have this kind of, for lack of a better word, liberal undertone that's
Mm-hmm.
restricting freedom of speech. So there's two problems going on. There's the, oh, things are going in a bit of a weird direction with freedom of speech and, certain terms that are being thrown around like racist, white supremacist, whatever. But then on top of that, we have the COVID restriction problem. And so I don't know. I think some people are going to end up moving. I mean, you can see what's happened in the US where people are like, well, I guess LA isn't the place to be anymore. We'll go to
Yeah.
Austin. So that must just continue. The UK is interesting. It's interesting that they implemented that because from what I know about the number of people vaccinated is most people who are going to nightclubs, the younger like generation, haven't even had time to get more than one.
Well,
So they're
no.
not even
So they're not implementing it until the end of September to give people time.
to force
Right.
people into it faster. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, my thing with it is, and I actually just tweeted about this, is that for me it's so obvious that it's not a good thing. Like forcing someone to put a foreign substance in their body, to me, is just so obviously not a good
That
thing.
hasn't been
Um,
tested for very long. Yeah.
well, it's not really that though, is it? It's not really whether it's been tested. It's kind of just it's just medical coercion. I feel like people should be free to choose.
Well, yeah, I do too. But I mostly do because, well, I don't trust the medical system very much.
Okay.
And I just had COVID. I just got over COVID
Yes, I was
from
going to
because
ask
I
you
had
about
it
that.
in Moscow. Yeah, so that's the second time I've had it, and it was bad enough. And I put a video out because I've been pretty vocally like against lockdowns and suspicious of everything. And I put a video out saying, if this specific COVID situation doesn't end for the next number of years, like if this is just a virus that's around, um, and the vaccine turns out to help and not have any serious side effects for younger people, I'll probably consider getting it later. As much fun as having COVID once a year is, because the last time I had it, and I'm pretty healthy, but I still have, like, this morning I woke up, I have a slight wheeze. I'm COVID negative.
Interesting.
I haven't had
Yeah.
COVID for like weeks now, but I still have a slight wheeze and I'm pretty healthy. So I don't know. Yes, I'm against the government forcing anybody to pretty much do anything because I don't think anyone can tell a whole bunch of people what to do with any sort of intelligence. Um,
So you are, and you're vocally against lockdowns. Can you tell me more about that? Because for some people, it's
yeah.
so hard just to, it's
Oh,
so hard just to be like,
I can
go
definitely
on,
get
go
into
for
that.
it. Yeah, go on.
Oh,
Look
okay.
at you,
So
like
I've been
getting comfortable.
well, man, so I've been vocally against that since, I was in Florida when COVID hit, and then I think May after COVID hit. I was like, okay, this lockdown thing is not going to be a good idea. And I feel like if you had half a brain, you could figure out why it wasn't going to be a good idea. And it
Right.
wasn't going to be a good idea because there are going to be people who don't have any money, who are going to get very unstable. Every time people lose jobs, there's an increase in the death rate. Suicides go up, overdoses when people are stressed out. And I was like, well, how is the government going to be able to monitor all the kind of secondary deaths due to a lockdown and compare it to COVID? And now the data is finally coming out after it's been, I don't know how long is it? How long have we
Has
been
it been
doing
like
this?
18 months? Well,
Okay, yeah.
it came in March
March. So
2020.
yeah, yeah.
18
So it's
months.
been a while. But some
Yes.
of the data is coming out, and at least in where did I just shared something? I can't remember if it was from the US or Canada, but even just the number of overdoses that have increased in the last year in young people have killed more
Mhm.
people than COVID has. So that's just one factor. That's just overdoses. And that's young people. So we're locking everything down to save people who are above 80 without even asking them if they're okay with it. Like, hey, how about you don't see your family for a year, and also you make your grandchildren depressed and potentially suicidal, and you don't have a choice because it's for your own good. Like, I don't know.
No, you make such an interesting point, because no, you're exactly right, because it does disproportionately affect young people, and a lot of people 80 plus share that exact opinion. I was talking about this with my
Yeah,
grandfather. He's like 93, and despite the lockdowns, we live in different parts of the country, like a 3 hour drive, and despite the lockdowns, I still went to see him. He still wanted me to go see him, of course, because he's
shocking.
old.
Yeah. Like, what else are you gonna do?
I know, and I actually went to go fill his fridge for him, and I'd posted it because I'm quite vocal about what I'm doing, and I went to go fill his fridge, bless him, put some nice meat in there, so he was all sorted for the winter, and people were criticizing me, and I thought, my grandfather needs to eat, and he's 93. Like, you need to mind your own business, and unfortunately, nobody's able to mind their own business nowadays, and I feel like
Social
we're all
media is
sort of
a big part of that.
told.
Yeah.
Say that again, sorry.
Well, I don't know how much social media has to do with that. I don't know if this would have been happening the same way if we didn't have social media and we couldn't see everything like into everybody's lives.
Mm.
It might have been completely different. Well, part
It
of it would
heightens
have
it.
been different. Yeah, it heightens it. So it heightens all the fear because things spread easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also people are actually able to move their jobs to their home more
Yeah.
than they would have before. So we actually had the ability to work from home, which you thought would be a good thing, but it turns out it just shut everything down. So it's tricky.
Yeah, it's a very strange world we live in. And another topic I really wanted to discuss with you was good old feminism. And I'd love to know your stance on it. And the main question I have for you really is, do you think modern day feminism has a place in today's society?
I've been doing a lot of like research kind of. So I have a daughter, she's almost 4, and I've been trying to learn more about like my own, I guess, psychology because I can see some of the things that I don't like in myself showing up in her
Mm-hmm.
because kids mimic
Oh,
behavior.
wow.
So I'll do
Okay.
something that I'm kind of not aware of, maybe get resentful about something, just something like that. And then she'll kind of display it and I'll be like, oh my God. So I actually have to fix that so it doesn't pass on. So,
Wait, you have to give me an example. I don't understand. You have to give me an example.
well, okay, say I'm upset about something, like say something
Yeah.
stressful happens and I'm upset about it. If I don't actually like healthily express that emotion and try and get it out, if I'm just like, okay, everything's fine, I'll just like hold this in until later when I'm by myself or something, obviously you can feel that kind of energy when you're around people, right? If you're around
Yeah.
someone who's upset and they're pretending everything's okay, everybody can feel that. But so that's what I mean. Once you have
Okay.
kids, you know, if you're around other adults, they can all pretend that nothing's happening. But when you have kids, they'll start displaying like emotions that you're like pent up holding. So when that started happening, and I'm like, I've been through a number of stressful things, like especially in the last couple of years. So she's been around a lot of stress. So I've been trying to figure out how to healthily deal with that. Bring that back to feminism. I
Yeah.
think I think recently things got a little bit confused because there are ways to, you know, there are certain things that need to be talked about. The way that we're handling it now and that modern day feminism is handling it now isn't healthy, which is too bad because I think it's the, you know, feminists started on the right foot, I think. Started to
Yes.
try and say, women need these things. Maybe women are different people. Maybe being a mom isn't so bad. Like it started in kind of a, a different universe and it ended
Yeah.
up here where there's, toxic masculinity, which even just saying that kind of thing is making the problem you're trying to solve worse. Right.
Yes. Oh my
So
God.
what do I think about it? I think that people need to be more educated in like terms like codependency. And I just had, this was really interesting actually. Do you know the book No More Mr. Nice Guy? It's by this guy
It
named,
sounds really familiar.
yeah, it's a best-selling book. I'd heard of it too, but I just talked to him on my podcast, Dr. Robert Glover, and he's one of these like men's group, not therapists for lack of a better word. He's a doctor, but
Right.
we talked a lot about how, childhood trauma can manifest in different ways as a man when you're older, as a woman when you're older. And having conversations like that it's just different than saying, "Hey, men are evil," which
Mm.
doesn't help anybody. So, I don't know. This like I told you earlier, I'm a little bit pessimistic about the state. I think lots of people are a little bit pessimistic
I'm
about it,
pessimistic. I'm
just
pessimistic as well,
just a
unfortunately.
tad. But
Yeah.
like Canada, I don't know how Canada is going to turn out. I'm hoping that it'll be able to recover from this, but there's a number of things that are going wrong. Like I said, not just COVID, but also the, I don't know, liberal movement. I don't even know what to
Uh-huh.
call it. The,
Call it the liberal movement, even though they're not all for freedom
yeah,
and
like
what
that's
liberal really
the,
means. We
yeah,
understand, we get it. It's been
something
hijacked.
like that. Yeah. So that's happening. I don't know if Canada's going to make it. I don't know if I'm considering moving to the States. I'd love to move to Austin
Okay.
or, somewhere like that. But I don't know how many
Wait,
years
just is
those.
that difficult as a
Um,
Canadian?
I have not really. I think I can get an O1 and I have a
Okay.
6-month visa. Like if
Oh,
Canadians
okay.
go there and live there for 6 months, they're not allowed to work though. So
I
I'd have to
see.
deal with a visa, but I think I can get an O1. So fortunately, I don't think it would be that hard. But I don't even know how long some of those cities are going to be okay for, or whether they're going to be like taken over by postmodern liberals. I don't know. Like I don't have words for them.
No, I understand. And like, just back to the feminism topic, there's so much going on it that we're not allowed to talk about, which is why I love doing this podcast because we can say what we want within reason. And right now, we have the Olympics and we saw there's a trans woman who
Oh
I
yeah,
believe beat some, I think she won, right? She won.
yeah.
She won as a weightlifter. So my thing is, it's really simple, each to their own, right? But I really feel that modern day feminism just isn't pro women. Like for me, I can't understand how that's pro women.
I completely agree. I do not know how this happened. I
How did it
don't know how this
happen?
happened at all. Like it's weird that you put the right wing conservatives in the group that are like more pro women. Everything
Yes.
is upside down right now. It's very strange. Where are you right now? Are you still in the UK?
Yeah, I'm in the UK. Today is called Freedom Day. So it's the day that our restrictions have lifted. But I don't plan to stay here. Like I said, they're bringing in
They called
vaccine.
it Freedom Day?
Yeah, yeah. Both sides are
Oh,
uncomfortable with that. Why does
that
that
is
make you
so
shiver?
oh, that's so creepy.
Yeah.
Well,
Go
why would
on.
they name
Why?
it why would they name it freedom rather than something that has to do with COVID? Like, if it's
Okay.
because the COVID restrictions are being lifted, then call it something that has to do with that, not like, "Now you're free again." Like, what?
Yeah. I mean, so both sides are uncomfortable with it.
Okay.
So let's just say people that are pro lockdown don't like it because now it sounds like this is about authoritarianism rather than like medicine and health and public health and things like that. So they think that that's propaganda, right? So they're just like, no, you're distracting from the narrative. This isn't about authoritarianism. This is about health. But then the people who are against it, yeah, and then the people who are against it also feel I don't know. It's a creepy day,
That
but to
it
be honest,
has
it's
something
a
to do with authoritarianism? Well, why would
yeah
they
because
name
it
it like that
does.
if they're trying to get away from that, like, storyline?
I
That's
guess
strange.
it's
Like,
too
who decided that?
I don't know. I guess it's probably been decided. I don't actually know. The prime minister uses the term Freedom Day. It's a pretty, to me, it's a great name. I think it's a great name. Because it literally describes what's happened. It
Yeah, it's
literally
just
describes it.
no, it does. It definitely does. It's just if you were in the this is why I
Yeah.
don't trust the government. It's like if you were trying to weave some sort of storyline that was against this right-wing authoritarian plot, why would you
Mhm.
name the day Freedom Day? How can you mess up that badly? It was probably like an 18-year-old working in an office somewhere, and they're like, "We need a name." You didn't come up with a name? No, what about Freedom Day? Yeah, okay, good enough. Whatever. No one's gonna pay attention anyway.
Yeah, well, that's politics for you, and that's the government for you. But no, I do want to delve a bit more into your opinion on feminism these days, because it isn't pro women, and I don't know whether what you think we could ever get to a point where things could sort of reach a nice equilibrium. You used the term toxic masculinity earlier. I think it's a stupid term. If you're trying to have a conversation with someone, you can't insult them back. You know. So do you think
Yeah.
we'll ever get to that equilibrium?
I don't think the trajectory we're headed on right now is heading in any sort of equilibrium universe. So, are we going to get
So what do
there?
we do?
I don't know. It's tricky. I get fed up with how things are looking here, and then I'll go somewhere like, okay, I'll go to Eastern Europe, right? It doesn't have the same problems other than COVID. It has different problems though, right? So you go
Yeah.
there and you're like, oh shit, the North American infrastructure, which is something everyone here takes for granted, including me, is actually incredibly well set up. Like it's
Yeah.
amazing that a society functions this well. And I was in Russia for a while and a couple of other places, but there are basic things there that are missing because North America is really well set up and people here are forgetting it. So, like I said, I don't think it's heading in a good direction, but I don't know where else to go. I don't think that
I feel
answered
the
your
same
question.
sentiment. It doesn't. It's fine. It's fine because
I know.
your sentiment says enough. It's completely fine. But you spoke about earlier, making money online, and at least that's something that we can do. And you've got a super successful podcast, amazing guests. So how do you do that? Balance all the stuff going on in your personal life, like we spoke about earlier, this increasing authoritarian world. You're really building something for yourself. So from like an
Yeah.
entrepreneurial standpoint, then, like how do you go about that? How do you deal with that?
Well, I'm really happy with how things have turned out in my work life. Like the podcast is unbelievably successful. I still can't believe people watch it. Like that it really surprises me. And people seem to say yes when I ask them to come on. So and I've learned enough about social media that well, I've managed to like delegate some tasks so I'm not doing everything myself anymore, which is also a relief. So I'm set up really well work-wise. I don't know how to balance that properly with the rest of my life. Like I do end up
But you
over
do.
I
You
don't. Just
do.
because I'm doing a podcast doesn't mean everything else is well organized. The podcast is well organized. I'm still
Well, that's
stressed
news.
out and that's news to the outside world. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What would you say? Okay, fine. So what would you say some of like the three main things are to building a successful podcast then?
Consistency.
Mm,
So, I mean, I had a head start because people know my dad. My dad has a podcast. I already had a social media following. So if you already have a social media following, then things are going to be easier for you, obviously.
yeah.
Uh, but I would say if you don't have a social media following and you want to start one, it would be consistency. And I know some people who've had podcasts for a long time and they had like hardly any views for a really long time. And then it was kind of like a Pareto distribution of viewers. So I would say consistency. Don't talk all the time when you have a guest on. Like, people are going to get bored of your podcast really quickly if it's just you talking all the time, unless maybe you're Tim Dillon or a comedian. So that's not the same for everyone, but most people aren't very funny. So don't talk too much, especially if you're not a popular comedian. So let's see. Consistency. Don't talk over the guest. And then I guess the other thing this is pretty easy, but make sure you post it everywhere. Like, have a YouTube channel, have an Instagram channel, use TikTok, use Twitter. Like, don't think that you're better than one platform. When TikTok came along, a lot of people were like, oh, TikTok is full of like dancing, half naked women. I'm not going on TikTok. But when YouTube started, it was all cat videos. So you just don't think you're better than a social media platform, and use all of them, because it's better to put your stuff up somewhere and not have it watched than to miss out on one of the big platforms. So yeah, consistency, don't talk over the guest, and use social media properly.
Yeah, TikTok is a huge one. You're totally right. When that first came about, I was posting videos on there and everyone was sort of laughing. And I was like, no, trust me, this is good. This is good. I see clips from your dad on there all the time. All the time. It's so amazing. It's honestly brilliant.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Intellectual content, like, is making its way on there.
Oh yeah.
It's not there. Yeah. So it's worth it. I find it very interesting. And I know it's this like evil Chinese company, but it's so good at, like, if I actually spend some time on there and like videos, I spent some time just to figure it out, and like videos that I like, the algorithm is amazing. It'll instantly show me what I like, or if I don't interact with it enough, it'll show me what it thinks I like. So I've been getting, like, I'm not that, like, if politically I'm libertarian, like, through and through. I'm not super conservative.
Oh, I think your camera has frozen. Hang on. Let me see if it's me that's gone or you that's gone. Guys, can you tell me if I've frozen or if Mikhaila has frozen? Let me know in the comments if it's me or Mikhaila, because I'm not sure. Let's have a look. Maybe if I'm good. Okay, so Mikhaila's frozen. All right. Let's see if we can get her back. Oh, wow, her power went out. Okay, guys, her power went out. That is crazy. Yeah, her power went out. All right, let me see how quickly we can get her back in. Okay. Let me see if we can get her back in. See, this is honestly live. That's what happens when you go live. Let's see if I remove her. Okay, now it's just me. All right, well, while we wait for Mikhaila to come back in. Yeah, she's coming back in. Okay, well, while we wait for her to come back in, I'm going to give a quick shout out to my sponsors, because, guys, without my sponsors, we just wouldn't be here. So shout out to BlockFi. I left a link for you guys. You can get amazing interest rates and $250 when you sign up. And actually, my newest sponsors this month is Compass Mining. So they're the company that makes Bitcoin mining accessible for everyone. You can just get a machine, pick a hosting facility, and let them do the work, which is pretty cool. Because if you think about it, mining Bitcoin is so difficult right now. So Compass Mining are making it super easy for everyone. Let's see how Mikhaila is doing. Okay, while we wait for Mikhaila, guys, if you have any questions, I'm going to take this opportunity to do an AMA while we wait for Mikhaila. So feel free to leave your questions. So you said Trudeau is listening. That's really funny. Is that why the power went out? All right, I'm going to leave this opportunity. I'm going to take this opportunity to... Am I British or Australian? I feel like it's kind of obvious, isn't it? I'm British. But do you know what's really, really funny? As we were talking about TikTok, her power went out. It's kind of crazy. All right, let's see what else, if she is coming in. Guys, I'm going to take this opportunity to do a AMA, so feel free to leave your questions. All right, I'm having a look now. Okay, all right, so Mikhaila has just said that she can't her power's not coming back on. That is crazy. Okay, so guys, I guess we won't be able to continue. That's a shame. I wanted to ask her about Bitcoin. I think we were still going to go for another 20 minutes. But I will stay on for another 5 minutes. You guys are welcome to ask any questions because obviously I want to make this a great podcast for everyone. So feel free to throw any questions in. I'm going to go up now and actually have a look at some of the comments that came through. Someone says they always like to watch. That's very nice. Let's have a look. Layah remembers March Bitcoin dip. Of course, I remember the Bitcoin dip in March. Let's have a look. What are my thoughts on XRP? I really don't have any major thoughts on XRP. I know everybody seems to think that I do, but I really don't. Will Bitcoin continue to go down? It's impossible to predict this kind of market. All you can do is hold. I haven't sold any Bitcoin. I'm also really vocal about the fact that I actually get paid in Bitcoin. So I was getting paid when Bitcoin was at its all-time high at $60,000 and I decided not to sell. Of course I'm not going to sell. Like, why would I sell? I'll take a 50% hit. So no, I'm happy to hold. Even if Bitcoin goes down, it will go back up. So I'm not overly concerned. All right, I'm going to continue to answer just a few more questions. Somebody said either Mikhaila froze or she's the best statue. That's funny. No, she froze, unfortunately. Why do you think France is threatening jail time for not having vaccine passports, but the UK just lifted all restrictions? So actually the UK has just lifted all restrictions, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing because they actually announced today that they're going to be implementing vaccine passports for nightclubs and large events at the end of September. So this isn't necessarily a good thing. For me, this is unbelievable. It's medical coercion, but I've spoken about that. I'm not going to continue to go on about it. All right, I'm going to answer one more question. I see some conspiracy theories in the comments. That's good fun. I'm going to answer one more question. I'm going to look through your questions now, and then we'll call it a day on today's podcast. You're welcome for a response. More than welcome. Okay, I'm going to answer one more question. Okay, where am I going in the US? Okay, so once my book is done, I do hope to get to the US. That will be... So actually, I was talking about this today. So my book was set to launch at the end of July, and it probably will launch at the end of July, but we are delayed a little bit. So for those that don't know, I've written a book about Bitcoin. It's called Undressing Bitcoin. And the goal of this really is to make Bitcoin accessible for everyone. I find that it's quite a difficult and complex and sophisticated topic. And I really wanted to just make it fun. Like, I want to make it fun, lots of flavor, taste, excitement. And I initially started writing this as a guide. It was initially a guide. That was the whole goal. And as I started writing, I was getting more and more excited, and I was getting really excited by all the philosophy behind Bitcoin. You know, when we talk about freedom, decentralization, Bitcoin as a humanitarian solution to all the tragedies that's going on in this world. So I ended up turning this guide into a book, but it was heavy and there was so much in there. You know, like when you love a topic, you end up putting so much into it. So it was just too much. Unfortunately, fortunately, my brother and I were actually in the same country at the same time. We've both been traveling. He's been traveling, but we're in the same country at the same time. And I showed him the book and he was like, it's good, but I think it should be a little bit more like this. And so honestly, I'm taking this opportunity to rewrite quite a lot of things. I've cut down a lot. For example, I'll give you full disclosure, full examples. The first chapter is the death of fiat. Okay. And in that chapter, I spoke a lot about the financial crisis, mainly the 2008 financial crisis, mainly because Bitcoin was largely born out of it. And I spoke too much about it. And I think it's boring. So I decided to delete it. Like, I've deleted like 15 pages of this book so far. So I decided to delete it because it's boring. And I want to keep it as concise and as fun as possible. There are some memes in the book because memes are good. Memes are exciting. So there's some memes in the book. But yeah, overall, that was the goal. And it did really start off actually as a guide. That's what happened. And it was a guide that I was going to sell by myself. But no, I just got really carried away. I got really carried away with Bitcoin as this humanitarian solution. and yeah, I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. So essentially when that's done, I will then go to the States to answer your question. So I do want to go to the States. I will go to the States. Somebody says my connection is breaking up. I don't think it is. I feel like I have a really good connection. You guys can let me know if it's breaking up. But yeah, I do want to go to the States, but I'm going to finish my book first. So I actually finished writing it 3 weeks ago. But like I said, my brother and I are actually going through it now and just adding more spice and more flavor to it. I'm reading all the comments as you guys are talking to me, as I'm talking. This is really weird to multitask. I did this the other day, actually. Yeah, so once the book is written, which should be, once the book is re-edited, it's quite a heavy edit that we're doing, I will do an audio version, and that audio version will be available. So it'll be totally available on Amazon. You can buy the Kindle version, the paperback. And then what I'll do is when I do go to the States, because most of you guys are based in America. So once I do go to the States, I'll probably do a meetup and a book launch. So yeah, we can all meet. I can sign the books or whatever, because I can't actually send you signed copies because I'm doing it through Amazon. But I'll definitely do a meetup, so I'll let you guys know when that's happening. Okay, I think that is all, guys. Unfortunately, Mikhaila couldn't stay. She had a power cut. Guys, never forget the power cut happened when we were talking about TikTok. I don't think I'll ever get over that. We were talking about deplatforming, freedom of speech, TikTok, China, things you can and can't say. 5 very controversial topics in today's world. And her power cut out. Quite unbelievable. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in and for your comments. And thank you for hanging out with me while Mikhaila left, unfortunately. But we'll definitely get that back up. I actually have another podcast this week. Really, really exciting. So tune in for that. It's with a guy who's based in Nigeria. So, I'm still here. I was going to end this, but just last thing I'll say. You know how I was saying how Bitcoin is this humanitarian solution and all that? Well, I'm going to be speaking with a guy who uses Bitcoin, and he's based in Nigeria. I'm super excited. If you didn't know, I believe in Nigeria, don't quote me on this, but I'm more or less right. There's a limit of $100 a day you're allowed to make for like international payments. It's just unbelievable, the restrictions in Nigeria and what's happening with their central bank. So yeah, guys, definitely tune in. I think it's on Thursday. Subscribe to my YouTube so you don't miss it. You'll get a notification when I go live. And then that's it. All right, guys, I'm going to go now. I need to find the, I have a little jingle that I play when I leave. So, all right, I'm going to play it now. All right, guys, thanks so much. We'll speak to you all soon. Bye.